Thank you so much, Gwendolen. So I hope everybody will come see her film tonight, The Doctrine of Discovery. It's called The Doctrine, I guess is the name of the film. Very important film. And she has another number of films, but including a film about Standing Rock. We're not going to be able to show at the convention, but we're going to try to find a special time to do maybe a Zoom showing of that, so everybody around the country can get on and watch it together, perhaps around International, perhaps around Indigenous Peoples Day.
Yeah, and I think there's going to be a screening in New York City this September of the film. Or we are planning on it, yeah.
Thank you very much. We have to keep moving. We have another very special person with us, Johnny Odom, who's a retired U.S. Army Sergeant First Class. Boy, I hated those guys. Who served 20 years on active duty. During his service, he served in Bosnia and Kosovo, as well as combat deployments and operations in Iraq and Afghanistan. He served as a combat advisor for the Afghan Army to the Chief Instructor of Counterintelligence at the U.S. Army Military Intelligence Academy of Excellence. A member of Military Families Speak Out. He's the father of an active duty service member currently deployed in support of Operation Epic Fury, William Jordan. For the past 5 years, he's been active member of Veterans of Foreign Wars, American Legion, the League of United Latin American Citizens, or LULAC, advocating for the rights, resources, and well-being of service members, veterans, and their families. He shares his perspective as a combat veteran and military father and speaks out against the current wars in the Middle East and the Caribbean and the misuse of the military. Welcome, Johnny Odom.
Hello, thank you everybody. This first little slide, I have no slides, but I like this, resisting the U.S.-Israeli war. I can tell you after, it only takes a few generations for us, to kind of catch on to what's really going on around here. And you can fool us once and twice and maybe even 3 times, but once we catch on to what's going on, there's things that need to change around here. I served 20 years in the Army. In order to do that, you gotta drink the Kool-Aid. You gotta buy into what's going on. To some extent. And really, what it comes down to is us believing the smoke that's being blown up our asses right now. And I'm tired of it. And I'm sure that all these military families, veterans, and everybody that's supporting us are tired of it also. We're intelligent people. The humanity of this world is intelligent. And for us to think that a commander-in-chief with no military experience whatsoever cares about what our military does and where he sends us. He doesn't. The administration doesn't care what they do. The administration doesn't care how many people we kill. The administration doesn't care how many innocent people, it doesn't matter what side it is. They don't care who dies. All they care is that their political agendas are met. And I'm not a political person. I'm not. I hate politics. And the fact that politics are involved in what's going on right now makes it even worse, because there are people that will accept the decisions that are made by politicians and they don't question it. Now I feel like it's time that we, as these organizations, there's more than one organization here, Military Families Speak Out, Veterans for Peace, we have About Face, we have all these organizations, we have another one, Common Defense, as well as the VFW, American Legions, and all those other organizations. It's time that we start working together as a coalition. We have to start bringing our voices together because we all have the same message. We all have the same message. These wars are wrong. There is absolutely zero reason for our administration to send us to a country to fight a war that we have no business being over there. 1947, I think it was either there, 1950, somewhere right around there. The reason that we have this conflict with Iran is because we went to Iran back then and we overthrew their government. We overthrew their government for the petrodollar and for oil. And now the president wants to talk trash and be like, 47 years they've been bothering us for 47 years. That's not it. That's not it at all. For 47 years, for 250 years, we've been wreaking havoc on this planet. And it's time that it stops. You know?
Right.
It's time that we, as the people that are doing the work, stand up and say no more. You know? And it can easily be done. I know it takes a lot of coordination, a lot of this, a lot of that, but it's easy to pull out of a war. Biden showed us how to do it in Afghanistan, right? He pulled us out in 24 hours, and everything just went to crap after that. But he got us out of there. You know, he said he will no longer commit sons and daughters to these wars, and then we turn around and put us right back into another war with another administration. You know, where are these people that are fed up with this shit? Because I'm fed up.
Right here.
I'm disgusted with the fact that we're in another war that could potentially be a forever war.
Yeah.
You know, my son right now, he's starting his 6th month right now in Jordan, and they've survived over 200 ballistic missile and drone attacks in just 6 months.
Oh.
You know, he got there on March 2nd. He got there the 2nd day of the war, and he came off the C-130 onto the flight line, sprinting toward a ditch because they were being rocketed. You know, these are things that the news doesn't tell you.
Yep.
You know, I'm a retired counterintelligence agent. I'm a federally credentialed counterintelligence agent, trained in espionage and counterespionage. I told my son, I don't give a damn what any commander, anybody tells you. You better tell me what I ask. You know, I'm not going to ask anything that's classified. I don't want to know anything that's classified or anything. I just want to know how you're doing. You know, I want to know how our sons and daughters are doing mentally, emotionally, physically, being stuck in a place where they shouldn't be. You know, the lack of information. It's funny, the difference between the Army and the Air Force. My son is in the Air Force. You know, he's on the flight line with F-35s. And the missile alert system that they use is tied to their cell phones. But yet they're taking the Army's cell phones away from them, which makes no sense. Are you going to punish these soldiers? You're going to punish our service members for your incompetent abilities. Because you're creating a situation and you're sending us to war and you're risking all these lives, whether they're our lives or the Palestinians' lives or the Israeli lives, or, well, the Iranians' lives specifically. I don't know about the Israeli lives.
Yeah.
I got some real issues with the fact that we are trying to merge our militaries together. Like, what's wrong with our country? We are fucking insane or what?
Yeah.
I tell you, I get deployed and I fought in many places. I fought in central Afghanistan, eastern Afghanistan, northern Afghanistan, and in Iraq. And I can tell you, I never, ever saw an Israeli soldier next to me fighting. So why do we owe them anything like that? There is no reason whatsoever that we owe physical, material, and monetary support to a country like Israel that requests our spiritual support. You can support somebody spiritually. You don't got to send us people to war. We don't got to send our sons and daughters to war to fight for something that they're trying to do.
Yep.
Yeah.
My mission and our mission as Americans isn't to defend their country.
Mm-hmm.
Their country doesn't do anything for us.
Yep.
And I'm at the point now where I'm pissed. I'm pissed as a veteran. I'm pissed as a parent. And getting part of these organizations and becoming part of these organizations, whether you've been a part of the organization for a month, 10 years, or today, you know, it matters. Being together, seeing all the commonalities between all of us, knowing that we can raise our voice. Once we get to a point where our voice can no longer not be heard, is when changes are going to start happening. And it's only going to happen if we keep pushing forward. We can't give up. We can't give up. I can't give up on my son. I cannot give up. I am in total distraught. I don't sleep. I barely eat. Like right now, I'm trembling and shaking inside because I'm pissed off. Like, how dare our country, how dare our commander-in-chief, if that's what you want to call him,
Yeah.
how dare somebody like that create a situation like this
Yep.
for our people,
Yep.
and then expect our people to go around the world and wreak havoc on other people that are undeserving of that.
Yep.
You know, the media, the reason that they're taking these supplements, the media is lying to us. The media is covering. How do you go from 400 casualties and wounded to 600 casualties wounded in one day? Because you're lying. Because you're misreporting the information and you're not being truthful and honest to the people of our country. And we deserve that. They owe it to us. If they're going to do something like this and send our sons and daughters into danger, into an illegal war that has no approval whatsoever, and where is Congress at? Like, where is Congress, man?
Yeah.
You know, they already passed the War Resolutions Act. You know, where is Congress? Why are you not standing up to this fool? Because that's what he is. And I know you can hear me, and I know I'm going to be on the news somewhere. You're a fool, man, for sending our people to this war that is immoral. We should not be fighting these wars. We should no longer be standing up for these other countries and other political views. What is most important to us now is getting these young men and women, our sons and daughters, home. You know, and it's easy. It's as easy as just turning around. Just turn the ships around. Just stop firing those bombs. When they say there's a ceasefire, that doesn't mean you get to shoot another round at somebody. You know, if we say there's a ceasefire right now and we're trying to work on policies and peace, which I think is a bunch of BS, because I follow a bunch of international websites too and everything like that, I can tell you Iran is not saying the same thing that we are.
Yeah, right.
You know? These people are not saying the things that we are. And like I said earlier, they're blowing smoke up our butts right now. And it's time that we stop accepting that smoke and start asking, not asking, demanding as citizens of this country, and demanding as veterans and military families for these wars to stop immediately.
Yes.
Because I can't tell you how many combat missions I've been on, how many of these deployments I've been on, and they serve no purpose. 12 months in Iraq, 12 months in Afghanistan, peacekeeping deployments, all this other stuff, and I can tell you that it didn't change anything for us Americans. It didn't. So I think at this point in our, I guess, history in our life, maybe it makes more sense to start seeing what options actually work. You know, I'm pretty sure that world peace isn't unachievable. You know, we have all these world leaders that meet at the G8 summits and G7 summits. All these world leaders meet together, shaking hands. So why are we enemies when it comes to citizens being regular citizens?
Yeah.
How come our president can meet with Xi Jinping and whoever that guy is or whatever, I don't know his name, and all these other foreign leaders that do not like America? How can we meet with them, shake hands with them, make rules and game plans for the future of this world and everything, and then they go home and they're like, China's our enemy. Really? Because they're not in Walmart. They're not our enemy when it comes to making money. But, like, so where are we going to draw the line at? Where are we as people going to draw the line at? When are we going to say enough is enough? And we demand something different. And we can say what we demand, but we have the right. We have freedom of speech. You know, I dare somebody to try to come and tell me that I can't say something about the country that I fought for. You know, and it goes for everybody, and it goes for everybody in these organizations. You know, like I said earlier, military families speak out. You know, I'm speaking on behalf of military families. Speak out. You know, and it is time that we speak out, and we speak out loudly. We speak out loud enough to where all these other organizations want to join us, and we make this message clear enough to where they have to change the direction that this country is headed. Because the way this country is headed right now, we're destroying ourselves. We're destroying ourselves within, and we're allowing people to do it. Right. And we're saying and doing nothing about it. Well, I think now is the time that it starts to change. Now is the time that we need to stand up and not sit back down. You know, I didn't prepare slides. I just wanted to speak from my mind and from my heart. You know, I try not to speak too much about my son because I don't want to get too emotional about it. You know, but I can tell you that these young young kids out there, these sons and daughters, husbands, wives, everything, regardless of the crappy situations that they're put into out there, they're getting it done. They're doing what they have to do in order to come home. It's not about winning. It's not about, destroying these other people there. That's all a bunch of crap, man. None of that stuff matters anymore. What matters is getting our sons and daughters home to us.
Yes.
And ending these future forever wars. Thank you very much, guys. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That's very powerful, Johnny. And thanks to Military Families Speak Out. And we had earlier a session in the other room 402 with several of the military family members speaking. It's very powerful. So I just want to thank you all for being here and ask you to stand up. Military families want to stand up and take a bow. Okay, then we do have some time for Q&A.